What's going on, everyone? So, the Los Angeles Lakers landing Trae Young is really starting to pick up steam. I believe it'll be kind of talked about and discussed all the way up into the draft, and then if it doesn't happen at the draft, it'll be kind of carried into the actual free agency and off season. But I still maintain Trae Young is probably the most likely player that the Lakers can acquire. He seems like he wants to go to LA. He doesn't want to do a rebuild. The Atlanta Hawks want to kind of go in a new direction with their number one pick that they plan on keeping that. They're not looking to trade it. So the idea is that they're just going to kind of hit the reset button around whoever they draft at number one, as well as, was Jalen Johnson and, maybe a couple of their other young guys. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But the Los Angeles Lakers hired their new head coach, JJ Redick. So now that they got the coach out of the way, they can start focusing on, the draft as well as free agency, potential trades. You're already seeing trades starting to go down and all that stuff. So I think it'll be kind of interesting to see how things shape up. But one of the things that kind of launched this whole look, it's been rumored for like a year now, but the thing that kind of gained the traction was as soon as JJ Redick got hired, Trae Young dropped an hourglass tweet, which really kind of was like, oh, like, what does this mean, right? Because it was just the timing and stuff like that. Obviously, it's very mysterious. It's kind of like, okay, that could mean a million things. I mean, LeBron does that stuff like once a week, right? So, and usually it just kind of, it's all this speculation. So obviously that could just be speculatory, but does kind of make sense that, again, Trae, he wants to go to a big market. He wants to go to Lakers. Him and Anthony Davis would make a perfect pairing. Everything the Lakers are kind of trying to do this offseason are all kind of predicated on Anthony Davis and the future post LeBron. I mean, LeBron and even Rich Paul have both basically said, hey, don't make decisions based on LeBron. Make decisions for Anthony Davis because he's the guy of the future. Whatever LeBron ends up doing, which I do believe he's going to stay. I do believe he's going to stick around, especially with the JJ hiring. I think that signaled it even further. But they're basically like, hey, right, LeBron, even if he does stay, even if he does resign, he's probably only staying a couple years, and then he's going to go sail off into the sunset. So you need to focus and build around Anthony Davis, who is your guy, who is your franchise cornerstone. I know people don't want Trae Young. I see all the comments. I've talked to you guys about it heavily. I have my reservations and my concerns about Trae Young as well, but Trae would do a couple things. One, it gives you that star locked up, ready to go alongside Anthony Davis, post LeBron James. So now you don't have to try to, LeBron leaves in a year or two and it's like, okay, maybe they don't have the money to get another star, or maybe it takes a year or two to get a star. I mean, even when Kobe retired, right? It took it was like 2 years, I think, before LeBron came, right? And you have Anthony Davis, who at that point, he's going to be at the tail end of probably his career, right? So you don't want to mess around and have a year or two to where Anthony Davis runs through his contract and it's like, okay, that's it, it's over, right? So you want to kind of, if you can get somebody like a Trae who is young enough to even be around longer than Anthony Davis, even when Anthony Davis rides off into the sunset, you'd still have a star to build around that you can add that other piece to kind of carry and go forward with. Hopefully you can kind of win some championships in that time period, but also this raises the ceiling now. Again, I don't know if it'll work. There are some concerns. Is LeBron has talked for, the last 6 years about how he wants to play off ball, how he doesn't want to dominate the ball anymore. He wants to kind of coast, and every year he dominates the basketball, right? He has shown at times and in the past and stuff like that, his willingness to kind of let guys run the show. But at the end of the day, in crunch time, when it matters, when it counts, LeBron's always had the ball in his hands. And that's the question, because Trae, he's best with the ball in his hands. He's one of the best playmakers in the entire league, if not the best playmaker currently in the entire league. He's a guy the last 3 years that's averaged 25 and 10, right? Him alongside Anthony Davis make all the sense in the world. If LeBron left, I would be much more like, hey, go get Trae. Right? Because again, Trae and Anthony Davis make so much sense. But also the Lakers don't have that 20-something-year-old star. They just don't. And you look at all the teams in the league, you look at all the teams that are having success, they all have that young guy that can go and kind of carry the workload, right? And Trae is a guy that can do that. He's a guy that can be clutch. He's a guy that can go, ice Trae for a reason, right? He's a guy that can make plays and get other guys involved. He's a guy that can run the offense. When LeBron goes to the bench, the offense can still stay afloat and won't just completely collapse, right? He's a guy that does make some sense. Obviously, the off-ball concerns are a thing, but he has had years, like 2 years ago, he shot like 56 or 60% or something. It sounded like a made-up number. I'm blanking on the number off the top of my head, but he basically shot in like the 50, 60 percentile in catch and shoot threes. Can he get back to, not even that, can he just be, 45%, 50% on catch and shoot threes? So that way when LeBron has the ball in his hands and Trae is playing off ball, because he's going to have to play off ball at times. Right? Even if you do let him dominate the ball for the majority, there's still going to be a lot of times where he plays off ball, whether Anthony Davis is going to work and he's cooking, and you want Trae to be a threat out on the perimeter to where he can kind of kick it out. Or again, LeBron James, if he's on the team and he's kind of doing his thing, he has a guy that he can kick it out to. So you're going to need Trae to knock down shots. I worry about his efficiency as well, but you also got to keep in mind, Trae would be playing with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That by itself would cause so much ease for Trae. Trae would take so much pressure off of both of those guys, but he'd also would take a lot of pressure off himself. He has never played with somebody as talented as LeBron and Anthony Davis. Like, even if you remove LeBron from the equation, he's never played with somebody as just impactful on both sides of the basketball, somebody that could go get you, 20 to 30 every given night. Look at what he's done to guys like Clint Capella, right? Like, and just like the lob threats and stuff like that. Imagine what he could do with Anthony Davis, the sets and actions you could run, the pick and roll with Anthony Davis and Trae Young, the pick and roll with LeBron and Trae Young. I mean, the potential is there. Right? I mean, on paper, it's like, okay, if this works, good luck. Right? Obviously, it depends on the rest of the roster. Can Max Christie take that next step and be a legit 3-and-D guy? Can you keep Jared Vanderbilt? Right? Now you say like a Trae Young, a Max Christie, who has shown he's a legit 3-and-D shooter. I mean, he's like 40% on catch and shoot threes. So he's basically a 40% 3-point shooter. Again, on catch and shoot, he's like 33% or something like that in general, but on catch and shoot, he's at the 40% the last 2 years. Can he take the next step? We know he can play defense, right? So now you got your point of attack, athletic, young defensive guy. Bring in Jared Vanderbilt, right? Obviously, there's concerns about Jared Vanderbilt shooting and scoring the basketball, but Lakers did a good job of getting him in actions as the screener and as the roll man to kind of open up him offensively. If he can just continue to improve and knock down the three ball, but more so his defense. Between Trae, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, you'd have more than enough offense. And then if Max Christie could shoot 40% on catch and shoot threes, you're good in the offense side. Whatever Jared Vanderbilt provides is just icing on the cake, but you're going to need the defense around Trae, around LeBron, right? So Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and Jared Vanderbilt, I think, could potentially provide that, or maybe could you convince a Royce O'Neal to come or something like that, right? Can you keep your 17th pick if Trae wants to go to the Lakers? The Lakers are kind of the only team that's willing to go after him, right? The Lakers could potentially even have some leverage in that negotiation, in that kind of talk, to where maybe they're giving up their 2 future tradable picks as well as like some picks. Well, maybe they could keep the 17th pick and go get a Zach Edey, right? Like, I wouldn't hate if we ended up finishing with like our starting 5 of, let's say, Trae, Max, Vando, LeBron, and AD. Say that's our starting 5. And then you have, like, say, Chris Paul, Taurean Prince, Maxwell Lewis, Christian Wood, and Zach Edey. Right? You got youth, you got athleticism, you got talent, you got a little bit of everything. Right, so I wouldn't hate something like that. Maybe you could go take a flyer on like a Kevin Porter Jr. So then maybe it's like Chris Paul, Kevin Porter Jr. Right, maybe would Patrick Williams potentially be a guy that's willing to kind of do a Malik Monk thing where he's like, hey, like, let me go to the Lakers, kind of raise my stock a little bit. I mean, there's options, there's flexibility, there's potential on guys. If you have Trae, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, there may be some role guys or some vets that are like, hey, I may be able to go win a championship over there. Let me go over there. Obviously, it's going to depend on how J.J. Redick, as the head coach, would operate. And again, it still has to happen. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying guarantee, the Chuck guarantee. No, I don't think it's anything like that. I just look at the situation, who's most obtainable, who's most likely, which star could potentially kind of push his way to the Lakers, and the depth. Again, like, I know a lot of people want the depth route. and want to go upgrade, but you're seeing guys like Alex Caruso already on the move. Everybody wants the players that the Lakers are targeting, which means the price and demand is going to be high, which means the Lakers are less and less likely to go and acquire those guys. And if you look at the rest of the teams in the league that had big success this year, they were all thin. They were all, 6, 7 guys deep, if that. And those were their focal guys. To me, it's like, again, if you have Trae, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, you got basically 3 high-end guys there. I do question their fit. I do have concern about their fit, right? But if the fit works, right? Because, again, I still believe big threes can work. We've seen them work, right? But you look at something like Phoenix, and a lot of people point to Phoenix, right? And they go, oh, well, Phoenix, and you said Phoenix wasn't going to be. Yeah, because of, again, the players, right? Usually big threes that work, you think of the Miami, the Cavs, the Celtics, right? You think of the big threes throughout the history of the league. They usually play different positions. They usually have different skill sets. They usually provide different looks and different things. Where Phoenix is basically 3 guys that are the same player at different scales. 2 guys literally are and play the exact same position. And neither are very good at the other, like playing point guard or, big enough to slide over and play the 3. So, to me, like something like that doesn't work, right? Again, I don't know if Trae and LeBron would work and fit, but if it does, again, they both play different positions. They both provide different skill sets. They both provide different looks. Do they have their flaws? I know people worry about Trae Young and his defense of liabilities. I get that, but every team and every star has defensive liabilities, right? That teams are going to exploit. It's how well do you max them? How well do you capitalize? Can that person give you more production than what their ailment is, right? Like, that is a big thing. And I think Trae could potentially do that. Again, I would have my concerns. I would have my reservations. I'd have my questions. I'll be psyched. I'll be pumped. I'll be excited if we land Trae Young. But I will definitely kind of be like, okay, was this the right move? Is this something that, and we'll break down the pros and cons if it does happen. But I just think that Trae is probably the most likely. You're hearing more and more about just the Trae to Lakers, that little cryptic tweet. Like, anything Trae does is going to be linked up to that. And he wants out because Atlanta doesn't want to basically kind of try to build a win-now team. They're kind of looking at more, hey, let's hit the reset button, let's rebuild. It's trade DeJounte, it's trade Trae. I would prefer DeJounte. Honestly, like, I think DeJounte, because you'd have more flexibility, you could do other moves, do other things, he wouldn't cost as much, right? If you can get DeJounte, get DeJounte. I just think that there's going to be a market of several other teams that are trying to get DeJounte as well that could probably just give up more or may be willing to give up more. Where the Lakers aren't going to give up Austin Reeves as much as I think that they should. If you can get DeJounte, they're not going to do it, which means they're going to be kind of, dealing backwards. So I just think Trae's market is going to be incredibly thin. I don't think that there's going to be a ton of teams that are willing to dump everything to go get him and still have a roster to maintain and compete, give up all the assets. And is Trae going to want to go to those teams? I know he's still under contract for a couple years, but it still matters, right? Teams aren't going to want to trade for a guy that doesn't really want to be there and is just going to leave as soon as he can, right? They want a guy that wants to be there, wants to stick around. Lakers, he would want to be here. He would want to stick around. You wouldn't have to worry about him leaving or departing. So, anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of Trae Young? Do you not like the idea of Trae Young? Do you think, like, yeah, I don't like it, but it's still the most likely scenario? Do you think, like, now stay away from Trae? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot as we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.